In 2006, the Spanish Ministry of Environment kick-started the National Strategy for River Restoration. Its main goal was to achieve the good health status of all water bodies, as required by the European Union Water Framework Directive. Since then, the Duero River Basin Agency has carried out a number of activities specifically designed for river restoration, giving particular attention to so-called lateral and longitudinal connectivity. Results achieved until now position the Duero Basin at the forefront of river restoration in Spain, with very innovative solutions that have tackled important challenges, both from a technical point of view, due to the technologies used, or due to the sheer size of some of the projects undertaken.
Even though all these quite successful results, we often face some cultural difficulties to carry out our project, because river restoration is still a quite misunderstood topic. I realized that it is very difficult to get people to fully understand these new solutions based on concepts like green infrastructure, room for the river, natural water retention measures, especially if they are used to seeing us doing just the opposite, that is using grey infrastructure solutions. So we have to work hard to communicate and explain them all these new concepts to be able to get people interested and engaged in the process.
Aware of this difficulty, the River Basin Agency has undertaken a number of different activities to raise awareness on these new approaches and concepts, and this way to achieve a higher level of public participation in river restoration projects. In any river restoration project, it is absolutely essential to have the support of the local people, particularly local authorities, which is why the Duero Basin Authority has developed a Mayor's School, a program to increase local knowledge on river restoration and, in turn, increase the understanding and acceptance of these types of initiatives. It has also developed a series of environmental education projects for children on basic concepts like river ecosystems, which incorporate other novel aspects like the importance of ecological flows and the role of sediments to ensure the river works like a real ecological corridor. In parallel to these programs, the Duero Basin Agency has developed public outreach materials like videos, publications, as well as public participation workshops and seminars with different stakeholders and social groups, as well as technical experts, non-profit organizations, etc. Altogether, these contribute to raise the awareness on the importance of river restoration. However, knowledge is not enough. The true objective of all these activities is to engage people in river restoration. Seeking a real participation from the public in all these projects undertaken by the Duero Basin Agency in ventures undertaken like Business for Biodiversity or signing agreements with universities to collaborate with the scientific and academic community in the process of evaluating and monitoring all these activities geared to river restoration. The volunteering program, for example, allows a direct engagement by all citizens straight at the riverbank. It is also very important to involve non-profit organizations, for example, through river custody contracts.
WWF has signed an agreement with the River Basin Authority to work here in the Riaza River It's called a Water Stewardship Agreement, and we want to include all the stakeholders. The River Basin Authority has an important role in the removing of the obstacles of the river, such as small dams. With the water stewardship, we try to involve local population and volunteers and civil population in the conservation of the river.
The involvement of society in river restoration is a necessity at European level, and with the development of new initiatives arises the opportunity to share and exchange valuable experience and lessons learnt amongst all those actors engaged in river restoration across the world. Making it easier to access new tools and exchanging experiences amongst countries will help to succeed and also to increase the effectiveness of new river restoration projects. This is the driver that has led the European Centre for River Restoration and Wetlands International to promote a community of practice amongst a number of river basins from countries like Spain, the United Kingdom, France, Ukraine and Armenia. Precisely in September 2014, this community of practice held its workshop in Leon, Spain, where public participation and stakeholder engagement were the key topics, and where different representatives of the European Centre for River Restoration, Wetlands International and partner countries from the community of practice could see firsthand the results of the Orbigo project, which achieved the recovery of the natural river floodplain and all secondary channels along 25 kilometers of river. It is a project that stands out because of its sheer size, but also because of its communication strategy and public participation process that was developed to accompany the project to ensure its success.
What I find truly amazing with the Orbigo River Restoration project is the scale of the project. I mean, we are talking of 23 kilometers of ecological river restoration, an integrated project. And that scale, I think, is needed to deliver large benefits, both in terms of flood alleviation and in terms of the ecology. I mean, we've given space back to the river on 23 kilometers. This is very significant. Often we suffer from very small-scale projects that deliver little benefits, both in terms of flood alleviation and in terms of the ecology. So I think this is truly amazing and very inspiring for me, being from France, on the community of practice.
Even if the final goal of all these activities was precisely to increase the security of local people against flooding through reconnecting the floodplain with its river flow, the removal of levees was at first difficult to be understood by local people because these approaches were diametrically opposed to previous actions, which is why, to start with, some local actors were initially opposed. It was difficult at first for us to accept this project because we thought they were going to bring the river into the village, but now we can see that once the work is finished, people are going to be much safer. The riverside walk will be much nicer and much more accessible to people, and they will be able to see the river. What I mean to say is that the Council believes that this intervention will be extremely positive for the municipality. It was only after an intense process of public participation and engagement with the local people through meetings in villages that their support was won. Their backing strengthened when, once all the works were finished, strong floods occurred in the Orbigo with no damage for the local population, which before had seen local schools and sports fields flooded, thus demonstrating the real effectiveness of the project to protect local people from floods.
Seeing the project, I'm even more convinced that it's an innovative project. It is a good combination on one hand of river restoration technique, more the ecological part, and on the other side the management, sustainable management of river, including other aspects, I would say more the economic aspects. What I didn't know so much about what I learned today is that it's also impressive concerning the preparatory part, the public participation part, and to be able to implement it with the support of the communities involved in this whole project. We spoke with the majors today and I was impressed by their opinions, I would say strong opinions, that they are convinced that a more ecological approach in combination with an economic approach is good for the Orbigo River.
Orbigo, of course, is a well-known river. It was nominated last year as one of the finalists for a European River Restoration Prize. And of course, it's not for nothing. And now we can see already the results of projects that have been established over the last few years. We've spoken to the people and the villagers here, and they are all very enthusiastic now. They have seen the result of restoration measures. And before there was a little bit sepsis among the society. Of course you understand it, because people feel safe with high dams, but now they've seen and they have experienced this year some floodings, and it proved that even the water level was lower than before with the dikes. So it's a very nice example, and it proves again that you have to involve the society, you have to have a good message, and you have to communicate well what is the purpose of your project and how sustainable it will be also for the future. So I think it is a nice example of cooperation with all the stakeholders involved, also for other rivers. In that case, I think Orbigo proves to be a valuable member of the community of practice for river restoration in Europe.
This has been without a doubt one of the key elements of success in the River Orbigo project, to achieve the backup of the local communities in a project that, due to its size, is one of the most important undertaken so far in Europe. The fact that the European legislation requires the good status of our water bodies will not by itself convince people to get involved and be supportive of river restoration. It is also because of the real benefits, both economic and environmental, that river restoration offers, like preventing floods, groundwater recharge, water purification, better biodiversity, new opportunities for quality tourism and leisure activities, and better preparedness for the potential impacts from climate change.
I think that the main lesson we have learned up to now is that we have to go on working to improve communication about river restoration. We have to be able to get across the real benefits of river restoration, if possible with local examples. In short, how river restoration makes perfect socioeconomic and environmental sense. We work to improve rivers because we want to improve people's life. In the end, river restoration is for people.
We need people for river restoration. River restoration is for people.